So since electric vehicles are such a hot topic right now, I thought we should talk a bit about Norway. And just recently, I read an article on oilprice.com that deals with the policies that have made Norway such a success story, at least if you listen to the advocates of the technology. And so in 2019, so far, about half of new cars purchased in Norway were electric vehicles. Now, this is a country with about 5 million citizens, so it's not a huge market, but it's notable that so many people, such a high share of people would go and buy an electric vehicle in this country, in particular because it's a very northern latitude country, so low temperatures, particularly in the winter, are not really good for the capacity of battery electric vehicles. So what's not to like? Norwegians just love their electric vehicles, right? So the total share is now above 10% and still rising. So isn't that something we should emulate if we want to get off oil or have an alternative to liquid fuels? And in this oilprice.com article, it is pointed out that this is not the result of a competitive product entering the market and then just steamrolling fossil fuel cars or diesel cars and gasoline cars, but it's a massive distortion of the vehicle market in Norway. So just a few examples here. Electric vehicles are exempt from the 25% value-added tax at purchase and also other taxes. And they get free public parking and get free charging very often on public parking spaces. And they also can use additional lanes like bus lanes and so on, which the fossil fuel powered cars cannot get. And on the other side of this, the internal combustion engine cars, so gasoline and diesel cars, will have to pay special taxes on the fuels, on the cars, and so on and so forth. So there's a very massive favoritism going on in favor of electric vehicles. And so as a result of this, conventional internal combustion engine car costs several $1,000s more at purchase, and it's significantly more expensive to operate. So everything is rigged against fossil fuel cars and everything is rigged in favor of electric vehicles, of course. And this amounts to a benefit of about $8,000 per vehicle, which only counts the purchasing advantage of the electric vehicles. And so the total subsidy expenditure of the government of Norway is $2 billion per year. So this doesn't sound a lot to an American, but in Norway, as I said, there are only 5 million inhabitants, so this is quite a lot. And if you would scale this up to the entire vehicle market, if everyone would buy an electric vehicle in Norway, that would be over $20 billion in subsidies per year. And that would dwarf many welfare expenditures on the government budget. And so, in my view, the real headline about the success would be, despite absurd amounts of subsidies and other market distortions, many Norwegians still don't want electric vehicles. So why would anyone sane not want an electric vehicle if the government essentially says, if you're buying an internal combustion engine car, you will have real problems. You will be in the bad lanes on the road. You will have to buy super expensive fuel that we put a special tax on, and the electric vehicles will get their power for free on public parking spots that are also free for them. And so every time you go somewhere in the public space and look for a parking lot, you will be disappointed not to have an electric vehicle. So, but still, about half of Norwegians every year will not buy an electric vehicle. That's a difference in utility between electric vehicles and internal combustion engine cars.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me just the celebratory nature of these claims. Like, look at how EVs are taking over the country. It's, when MP3 players first came out, there was one that came out by Microsoft called the Zune, which was just like a complete joke and nobody liked it and it was awful. But you could just imagine if Microsoft had decided to, play the game where it got subsidized so that it cost, hundreds of dollars less than the Apple MP3 player, coming out and saying like, look, we're crushing iPod. We are, this is the music player of the future. It's like, no, you're the welfare case that's costing us a bunch of money, and you're still so lousy that only 50% of the people are willing to put up with you, even at this, ridiculous advantage. And so it's like, look, I have nothing inherently against EVs, but when you have a whole society that's basically forced to subsidize something that's so inferior that even with these kind of massive subsidies, you still are leaving about half of your citizens saying, yeah, no, I want nothing to do with it. Like, that is just really absurd. And one of the things that it does, and this is what nobody talks about, is it actually holds back. The more that you have this artificial life support of an industry by government, the more that it holds the industry back, because it reduces the competitive pressure ever to become really good, and particularly to become good on price, so that even if they can fix the price problem, they still have the implicit price of having to stand around while a thing charges. And we've talked about some of the other problems with EVs, like range and the scalability, but at least they should have every incentive to try to really solve the problem and provide affordable transportation, rather than just the illusion of affordable transportation that comes from government support.